Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Light Sports Ramble. As always, my pleasure to come to you on this beautiful fall morning in Pittsburgh. Not only is the weather great, but Troy has his phone back. The Light Sports Ramble is now going to be published every day. I'll tell you what, a 2-week hiatus of the Ramble literally gave me withdrawals. That proved to me right there that this hobby has to go to the next level. I just love doing it so much. So you've probably noticed some changes. My YouTube page now says Light Sports Ramble. My Twitter handle, Light Ramble. I am taking it and branding it to another level. I've talked with Evan. We're now going to do 2 shows every week. Tuesday, Thursday. We're going to recap on Tuesday, Packer Chat. Thursday, going to be Twitter Talk, taking topics from you, our loyal listeners, and I love my faithful followers. But now I'm back. The Ramble is back every day. I couldn't be more excited. While I was away, a lot of things going on in sports. Got to give props to the Red Sox. World champions, beat the Cardinals in 6. Wish I could have rambled about it. Got the NBA starting, the Pacers, to my Pacer listeners, off to a great start. The NHL in full force. Some really good games. As I stated, I don't really watch early in the year, but I watch the scores. And I'll catch a game or two, some highlights. But right now, it is all about NFL football. And a lot has happened. And I certainly missed rambling about the power rankings, and certainly missed my upset special on Friday. But that's all back now, and I couldn't be happier. With that said, going to get right into a major topic. My phone could not have come back at a better time. It is this incident going on in Miami with Richie Incognito and Martin. I am an advocate against bullying. I don't believe there's any room in the world for it. Now, I am not going to prove him guilty. It's like anything. It came out. We don't have all the facts. I saw his short interview, and he said no comment at this time. He's basically going to tread the water and take it as it comes. But based on the information we have, there is no need for that kind of behavior. None whatsoever. But I'm going to give you a little bit of insight because I've been on both ends of this spectrum as a player and as a coach. And I think when I was a player, hazing was a norm. The freshmen carried cleats. The freshmen picked up balls after practice. And yes, when I was an athlete in high school, they played a silly game where we stood in the goal with our backside to the field, and the seniors got to kick the ball as hard as they wanted. Was it right? No. But we did it. That was our so-called freshman initiation. Now, as the world has evolved, there is no room for that anymore. And even when I coached, I eliminated hazing. There's no need for it. None whatsoever. And it goes farther than athletics. We're looking at tremendous amounts of bullying going on, especially with social media. We hear it in the news all the time. And so as I progressed from my generation, where hazing was acceptable, to being a coach, we've seen the trend to really eliminate it. And that is a form of bullying. Now, we can't, as coaches, put a player in a situation and this won't ever happen. What Incognito didn't matter if Philbin said, we're not going to tolerate this. What he did is based on his character. And so, whatever the investigation shows, I have enough fact right now to know that this is not a guy that I would ever want to hang out with. If he's going to leave a voice message like that, whether or not it comes out that, it was a joke, which I can see happening, to try and cover his butt, there is just no need for it. For example, when I coached, I went and put my foot down. Said there will be no hazing of the underclassmen. And in college, the same thing. No freshman initiation. If you did, and if you were caught, and the facts proved that you participated in any type of hazing or any type of freshman initiation, you would be suspended like Richie Incognito indefinitely until I got the facts and then determined what hazing occurred or what the initiation was about, and then your penalty would be put forward. Because there's just no room for it. The bottom line is, we are people. And I look at the NFL as a workplace. When I get a new job, am I getting hazed at work? Am I getting initiated at work? We may joke and say, hey, it's the new guy. You got to get me a cup of coffee. I'm okay with that. That's harmless. But when you get into racial slurs and demeaning people and talking about their mother, that is crossing a line. Now, we know the reports this morning are saying that he was told by the team to toughen Martin up. You need to use common sense, even if that was a directive from the coaching staff, to toughen a player up. How do you toughen a player up? By using explicit and demeaning language? Well, that's just going to piss me off. It's not going to toughen me up. So use common sense. When I was playing college athletics, when I was a captain, I was approached by my coach. And we talked about picking up the intensity level, picking up the details. And as captains, it was our job to teach the younger kids how to do this. It wasn't by getting in their face and yelling at them and demeaning them. You know what it was when I played? And granted, it was soccer, not football. Maybe it's different. And you might totally disagree with me. But isn't building intensity and toughening somebody up by leading by example, being a leader, getting in the weight room, giving 110% at practice, doing the right things off the field, being on time for meetings, being in the film room watching film? That's what a leader is. And so, I am going to get on the case of the coaches. You can't go to somebody and say, toughen somebody up. You have to give a directive. You are the leaders as coaches. You give directives to your team, then give them a detailed explanation of what needs to be done. Do not make assumptions. And I heard this from a coworker when I was in Indianapolis. Look at the word assume. Look how it's spelt. When you assume, that somebody understands what you're saying. Does the word assume not spell out ass of you and me? That's what happens when you start making assumptions. So if that coaching staff went to incognito and said, you need to toughen Martin up, and that was it, they're assuming that it is meant by the weight room and intensity on the field. They assumed, and guess what just happened? It made an ass out of you and me at that point. So yes, there's some blame if that directive came down from the coaching staff. And yes, there's blame on incognito for not using common sense. Again, all the facts are not out. This investigation is going to cause so much distraction in that Miami locker room that I would be embarrassed about it. And I would be embarrassed because as a player, how do I let this happen? Where's the accountability piece in here? Because I'm sure that he just didn't do this and nobody else knew. Does nobody have the balls to step up and say this is wrong? That's where I get frustrated. Be a citizen, and a model citizen at that. And again, it goes back to the big picture of what's going on in America. 12-year-olds getting bullied on Facebook. 14-year-olds getting bullied in high school. And why? Because they're not like you and me, we got to toughen them up? That's a bunch of BS. There are better ways to going about getting somebody tougher than to using a crazy voicemail. And that's all we have right now. And maybe there's more to the story. But apparently, this bullying in the locker room emotionally affected Martin so much that he didn't want to be in his workplace. And I know my company. I actually have to take the course today, my annual sexual harassment and compliance course. And it deals with workplace harassment and bullying. You are a professional. And yes, it is different than a normal job, which I have. I understand that. But do you really have to go to that extreme? So yes, part of me is already making him guilty of bullying without the facts. It is just one of those things that as this guy grew up and went through the system, middle school, high school, college, if he's done it now, I would imagine this isn't the first time that he's pulled a stunt like this. And so let's go back down. What did his college coach do? What did his high school coach do? What did his middle school coach do? Now, my players may not have agreed with the hazing rule and the freshman initiation rule, but I'm going to tell you something. I don't care. I'm the coach. I didn't want it on my team. So I put a stop to it. Now, did some of the players go out and do it? Probably. They probably did. I can't say that none of them did that. I can't say that there was no freshman initiation, but nothing got back to me as a coach because they knew what would happen had they been caught in the act of doing those things. You are not going to change character of somebody that wants to do it. And so that's my insight, folks, on the whole bullying situation with Incognito and Martin. I don't think there's any room for it. I think it is ridiculous, and it should never have gotten that far. The staff needed to be accountable. The teammates needed to be accountable. But in the end, Richie Incognito needs to be accountable for what he did. He did something that made another person uncomfortable, and so uncomfortable to give up and to walk off the team. A great opportunity to be an NFL player, to provide for his family more than you and I ever could, and he just gave it up because he mentally couldn't take it. And some people may say, well, just toughen up. Well, you know what? I read what the voicemail said. If somebody gave me a voicemail like that, it would sure make me upset. And like I said, we don't know what else happened. It could have been more than just one voicemail. It could have been daily. Apparently there's more text messages. But with all that said, we have to peel the onion back and look at the action. It's the action itself that should never have occurred. And this thing is going to get crazy. Especially right after the bounty situation in New Orleans. Whether or not the coaching staff knew what was going on, I said this in earlier rambles. As a coach, do you not know what's going on with your team and in the locker room? I certainly did when I coached. Because I wanted to know what was going on. I didn't brush anything under the rug. I didn't turn my head. I wanted to know good and bad what was going on with that team, and I would address it as needed. Now, I know as a head coach, and Joe Philbin has a lot of players and a lot of position coaches. Well, that's why you have position coaches, to know what's going on with your guys. And if that position coach is not man enough to go to Philbin and say, hey, this is going on, then I blame him. You should know what's going on. I am a director of a school with many departments, and every day I know what's going on in that school. Every department is held accountable, and I'm in the department every day knowing what's going on, what's on the agenda, what happened yesterday, and what is happening tomorrow. Because I don't want any surprises. So with that said, folks, I hope you enjoyed the ramble today. As always, my pleasure. I certainly do enjoy the ramble. Have a great day. I'll see you at the next red light.